Hi, I'm Jake Zimmermann here in Bloomington, Indiana, in the end zone at Memorial Stadium, where the Badgers, of course, hope to see a lot of time tomorrow. With emotions bubbling over from the Brewers' win over the Cubs, nobody wanted to leave here at Miller Park, and for good reason. Well, look over my shoulder. You can see what it says. The Badgers are Big Ten champs. They get it done here in Indianapolis last night. Okay, Bob, thank you very much. Yes, Division I state championship time as, hey, we wind down championship Saturday here with what we believe is going to be a good one. Ortiz for three. He hits. Brandon Ortiz ties the game, and we are headed to overtime in the Division I state championship game. Folks, if you didn't like this one, you just don't like watching great basketball games. Amazing game here, Madison Memorial, with the win in triple overtime. Sure, these players are women, but don't be fooled. This is no lighthearted finesse version of football. It's got all the elements, blocking, tackling, and these women like to hit each other hard. And here is a look at one of those Titletown towels, and yeah, I got a pretty good feeling we'll see a lot of these waving around inside the building you see behind me tomorrow.
And for more on those stories, we join sports director Jake Zimmermann once again in the middle of all the action.
We're gonna do it again.
Hi, Jamie. Yeah, I would say middle of the action is right. As you can see behind me, the Badger band going crazy. I mean, we got thousands of Badger fans out here at the party on the pier at the Santa Monica Pier. Some of the Badger greats have already made an appearance here, including Mark Tauscher, Barry Alvarez, and Ron Dane. Speaking of Ron Dane, he was inducted into the Rose Bowl Hall of Fame earlier today in Pasadena. Dane joins his former coach, Barry Alvarez, in the Hall. Barry was inducted 2 years ago. Dane, of course, helped lead the Badgers to back-to-back Rose Bowl victories and, of course, is the NCAA's all-time leading rusher. This award obviously means a great deal to him, as you can tell by his nervousness during today's induction ceremony.
You know, me getting this award it's just great. It's almost like winning the Heisman. I'm up here nervous, I'm shaking, I'm sweating, so, and then I lost my speech, so,
Tackling Ron Dane was like trying to tackle a Mack truck or stop a Mack truck with pea shooters.
Yeah, he was nearly impossible to stop during his time at Wisconsin, to be sure. In fact, he just made an appearance out here, I would say, about 10 minutes ago. So many more people to come. In fact, the entire team is over to my left there on the stage. So it's going to be quite a party for the next hour or so, Jamie. And we'll bring you so much more coming up tonight on 27 News at 10. Back to you.
Now, Sports Director Jake Zimmermann.
Nothing has come easy for the Brewers this year. That's the case again tonight as the Crew goes for its third straight win against the Giants in Miller Park. Crew takes a 1-0 lead in the third when Unieski Betancourt gets into one. Hits it deep to center and gone. The second home run for Betancourt in as many nights. Crew would go up 3-0 with 2 more runs in the fifth. Pitcher Kyle Loesch really had it going too. A no-hitter into the sixth, but he gives up 3 runs and 5 hits in that sixth inning. So it's 3-3 Brewers in the ninth. Blake Lally, one of the Brewers' young minor leaguers who had never had an at-bat at Miller Park, well, gets a big one here with 2 on and 1 out. Lally sends it deep and over the head of Gregor Blanco, and that will do it. Brewers beat the Giants 4-3 in walk-off style on that big hit by Blake Lally. Francisco Rodriguez is back with the Brewers. The Crew have signed K-Rod to a minor league deal. The 31-year-old really struggled to a 4.38 ERA last season. But with the Brewers' bullpen struggles again this year, well, they're going to give K-Rod another shot. It's a no-risk deal for the Crew. They'll have 30 days to call him up from the minors or grant his release. The Packers knew they didn't have a choice. To keep Clay Matthews around, they would have to show him the money, and they did just that today, making him the highest-paid linebacker in the NFL. Matthews gets a new 5-year contract extension worth a little more than $13 million a year, $65 million overall. But Matthews insists this big-time money, that's not going to change his play on the field.
As far as everything that I want to accomplish, you're going to get the same Clay that you've seen for these past 4 years.
Yeah, minicamp coming up on Monday. In 4 years, Matthews has 42.5 sacks. He's the first Packers player to earn Pro Bowl honors in 4 consecutive seasons to start a career. Matthews now the highest-paid player in Packers history. That'll be short-lived. Aaron Rodgers will easily surpass Matthews' deal and will in all likelihood become the highest-paid player in the NFL when he signs his deal, worth between $21 and $25 million. That is obviously next on the Packers' to-do list. College basketball news, another one of last year's top juniors declaring for the NBA draft. Tim Hardaway Jr. forgoing his senior season at Michigan. The Wolverines guard joins his former teammate Trey Burke, both leaving Michigan early to turn pro. Hardaway averaged 14.5 points, nearly 5 rebounds per game this season. Also, the Bucks beat the Thunder tonight, 95-89. John Henson 28 points, 16 boards. Bucks finished the regular season 38-44. They'll face the Heat in the playoffs. That'll start on Saturday. And that's it for sports. We'll be back right after this. When the season began, it was all about how the fall would belong to Ball. Well, Monte Ball is still on his way to another solid season, but his roommate is joining him in that ownership, and that is in no way a bad thing.
When he starts playing really, really well, it kind of sets a fire into me. So I told myself I better get going, and vice versa, which is the healthy competition that we have, and obviously it betters the offense.
Pretty amazing when you consider Ball and White are best friends, they live together, and they flat out dominated the Gophers today. White with 175 yards rushing and 3 touchdowns, Ball 165 yards and 2 scores.
These are the type of games you dream about. I mean, 2 running backs over 150 yards is pretty impressive, and just credit all to the offensive line and everybody else who was blocking.
Who had a better game, do you think?
Oh, James. James for sure. He had the high energy play of the game, and he brought the spark. I didn't bring the spark, so he made sure he was going to bring the spark early, in the game, which is something we need.
Fortunately, Monte Ball's ankle injury he suffered in the third quarter was no big deal. And on a sun-splashed day at Camp Randall Stadium, the Badgers retained Paul Bunyan's axe for a 9th straight season. That ties the series record.
It was a lot of fun. It's a rivalry game for us, so it means everything. And we take it very seriously and enjoy it very much when we do get to keep it.
So do the Badgers still have room to grow? Absolutely. Quarterback Joel Stave struggled at times today, holding on to the ball too long and took 2 costly sacks. But with Ball and White leading the way, this offense is now clicking, and they hope it continues next week in an important game against Michigan State. That'll be 2:30 right here on Channel 27. Reporting from Camp Randall Stadium, Jake Zimmermann, 27 Sports. When Matt Kenseth was a youngster, he made an agreement with his father, Roy, that if Dad bought a car, young Matt would fix it up until he was old enough to race. True to his word, Kenseth began stock car racing in 1988 at age 16 at Madison International Speedway.
My dad bought a car and I helped him for 3-4 years, and when I turned 16, he raced about 4 or 5 weeks against me. Then he just decided to quit and let me do it. So ever since then, that's all I've been doing has been working on race cars since I've been like 13 years old. So it's paid off and it's helping a lot right now.
By the age of 19, Kenseth was racing against the likes of Dick Trickle, Ted Musgrave, and Rich Bickle in the Wisconsin late model ranks. He worked his way up, racing in the ASA Series, then getting a call from Wisconsin's Robbie Reiser to race in the Busch Series. He quickly became one of the best young drivers, and in 2000 was named the Cup Series Rookie of the Year, followed by winning the Cup Championship in 2003. But yesterday came perhaps the biggest prize of all, a win in the Daytona 500.
Oh my goodness, it's going to be really wet out here. It's probably going to cry like a baby, but just really need to thank my team and thank the Lord for giving me this opportunity, first of all, and just had a lot of great opportunities in my life with my family and getting me into racing. And man, I don't know, winning the Daytona 500 is definitely a G moment. It's just an unbelievable feeling.
It's unreal, actually. There's still times that I'll bring out an old tape and watch, and I said, man, did we really get this far? Is that, from small town from Wisconsin, and kind of a laid back as he is and everything, and not a jock in high school or anything, and yet he's out there doing this. It's pretty cool.
Making yesterday's Daytona 500 win even more special is the fact that it was Matt Kenseth's grandmother's birthday. Edith Kenseth turned 95 yesterday, on the same day that her grandson won the Great American Race.
I thought it was great that he was going to race on my birthday, but never dreaming that he would win a race on my birthday. I was so excited. My daughter, too, she was just jumping up and down. We were all excited, 3 of us.
Matt Kenseth, the kid from Cambridge who asked his daddy to buy him a used race car, has now become a Daytona 500 champion. The Badgers season began with Heisman Trophy hopes for Monte Ball and extremely high expectations overall. But a month in, it's been a whirlwind season for the back-to-back Big Ten champs, to say the least. Head coach Brett Bielema has already fired his offensive line coach and switched starting quarterbacks. But after a win over UTEP last Saturday, the Badgers are hoping they're finally getting this season back on track. We'll learn a lot tonight as the Big Ten season kicks off. For the first time since 1973, the Badgers invade Memorial Stadium, where Nebraska is looking for a little payback.
Over the next half hour, we'll take a look back at that 48-17 Badgers win last year. We'll sit down with former Husker Barry Alvarez and show you how the fans are gearing up for tonight's big showdown. The Badgers-Huskers pregame special starts now.
Good evening and welcome to our Badgers-Huskers pregame special. Yes, we are live outside of Memorial Stadium. You see the fans streaming in behind me, about a half an hour away from when the Badgers and Huskers will kick off the Big Ten season. You know, this hasn't really been the easiest season for either one of these teams, but I'll tell you what, that doesn't diminish how big this showdown is tonight. The Badgers' struggles, well, they really reared their ugly heads. You got to go back to Corvallis, Oregon, when they lost 10-7. The Huskers lost in a shootout to UCLA that same week, and their starting running back Rex Burkhead suffered a knee injury in the season opener. Burkhead, by the way, expects to play tonight against the Badgers. But of course, there have been some positives for both teams. They both come in with 3-1 records and hope to kick off the conference season with a big win tonight.
Going in there, it's gonna be pretty crazy and just show the nation what we have.
Both teams will actually be wearing different shoes as well that change color, believe it or not. It's part of the Spotlight technology that Adidas has incorporated into this game. There's going to be glass beads on the shoes, so that'll be interesting to see as well. Of course, big games like this are big for the players, of course, but for the fans as well. Excitement for this game has been building really over the last year, just like last season between these two teams. Tonight's showdown is under the lights, really going to make for an incredible atmosphere. We caught up with some tailgaters, and as you might imagine, they are pumped up for this one. It all started last night. Nebraska students camping outside Memorial Stadium.
It's first come, first serve, so first one in, first seats, so that's why we're camping out here tonight.
There is no place like Nebraska.
And continued on today. Woo! Passion from both ends.
Bucky!
Yeah, buddy, go Big Red!
Go Big Red!
But respect all around.
We got some Wisconsin fans in the house. Would like to welcome them to Lincoln, Nebraska. We're going to play a little jump around for you guys.
We're having a great time. Husker fans are fabulous.
Nebraska fans are the best I've seen. They really are. They're great fans.
And in the end, it's all about the experience.
Pulled pork sandwiches, it's another Nebraska thing. Go Big Red.
Just have passion for your team. I don't care who you're for, have passion about it.
Yeah, good times to be had by all for sure. The Cornhuskers, of course, are hoping to do to the Badgers what the Badgers did to them last year. Again, 48-17, that win for Wisconsin over Nebraska at Camp Randall. Really in one of the more electric atmospheres that you'll ever see. It all kicked off with ESPN's Game Day, College Game Day, earlier in the day. Jamie Hirsch from WKOW-TV in Madison has a look back at that first Big Ten showdown between Nebraska and Wisconsin.
The hype was everywhere with
All right, Jamie, thanks. Yeah, that was a heck of a win for the Badgers. Of course, they'd love to get another one here tonight. Well, time to take a little break here in Lincoln, but we'll give you something to think about. How long has historic Memorial Stadium been the home of the Cornhuskers, and exactly how populated does Lincoln get on game day? We'll have the answers coming up when the Badgers-Huskers pregame special continues.
Barry Alvarez's legendary coaching career began at Lincoln Northeast High School as an assistant. He got his first head coaching gig in Lexington, Nebraska. He eventually moved on to Mason City, Iowa, then to the Iowa Hawkeyes, before becoming an assistant at Notre Dame, and then, of course, to the Wisconsin Badgers.
And obviously that last coaching move worked out pretty well for Alvarez, who, of course, 16 seasons at Wisconsin, very successful before giving way to Brett Bielema in 2006. You know, it wasn't his coaching career that started here in Nebraska only. Barry was also a linebacker for the Huskers from 1966 to 1968. Now, just a couple of days ago, I had a chance to go one-on-one with Coach Alvarez, sit down and talk about his days here at Nebraska, and you might be surprised what his first job in coaching entailed.
You a driver's ed teacher?
I was. I was.
I don't think
well, I was my first job at Lincoln Northeast. That's what the opening was. So I was varsity assistant in football, assistant wrestling, and driver's ed. That's what I taught for 4 years there.
Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, Yeah, I did. You know what? Northeast was a very good school. Blue collar area, you know, and good kids and families that really supported their high school and high school athletics. A lot of them went to school at Northeast. So I had a great 4 years there.
And then on to Lexington.
Lexington was my first head coaching job out in the middle of the state. You know, I wanted to be a Division I coach, and my next step was to be a head coach. And Lexington it's a small town. It wasn't the largest class, but it really had a good tradition in athletics, and it opened up, and they contacted me and ended up taking the job and had a great 2 years there.
Was there a period where you thought, goodness, Nebraska might be where we are forever, and there's nothing wrong with that?
Yeah, you know what? I would have had no problem with that. You know, but my eye was, you know, I would have liked to have gotten to the university. I wanted to do well enough for them to say, boy, we'd like to get him back here, much like Frank Solich did. Frank and I coached together. We were teammates in college, and he coached at Lincoln Southeast. I was at Lincoln Northeast.
Tell me about game days in Lincoln.
Well, understand that Nebraska football is the biggest thing in the state, and it's very important to the state, and they don't try to hide that.
Last year, you know, with the way the Badgers jumped out to such a big lead, you know, never look back. I think a lot of folks expected a different game this year. Right? What do you expect out of this game?
You know, I want to see us improve. I felt like we got better the last 2 weeks. I thought we were real close last week. I thought we made some things more difficult than they have to be. You know, I'd like to see us improve. I think it'll be a physical game. I think it should be a good football game.
And Badger fans certainly hope that improvement makes for a winning formula here tonight. We shall see. Well, time to take another break, but when we return, I'll let you know how successful both the Badgers and Huskers have been in night games and why something's got to give tonight when our Badgers-Huskers pregame special continues.